Hello and welcome guys to my review of The Enemy of the World, the recently recovered 6-part episode that's very James Bond-esque from the second Doctor era, who is my favourite Doctor. This is a story that, before it was rediscovered, it wasn't held very highly by fans. It's a very talky episode that didn't seem to translate very well on audio. I've never heard the audio. I can't really confirm what it's like on audio. I haven't heard it, but from what I've heard, it's an episode that really didn't transfer well to audio. However, when it came, it was rediscovered and people were able to watch it for the first time or for the second time in some cases, I think people really realized how good it was, how creative and different it was, and that it is not a poor story as people formerly believed, but for some people, including me, it's an absolute classic that should go down on people's top 10s or top 20s list of best episodes of the classic era. So without further ado, let's get straight into the review. So we'll start off with how the story begins. So the Doctor, Victoria and Jamie sort of land on a beach in Australia, and they never specify exactly what date, but it's sort of around 2018. You can get the idea from a sign in a helicopter that gives an idea of they arrive in around today, to be honest, around this time back in the 1960s. It was obviously far in the future, so we sort of get into a current day setting, which is quite interesting, and it's one of the things that I think is very good by today's standards, to look at the episode, that you can look at it and it kind of gives a nice insight of what they actually felt this year would look like, this time period that we're in now, what it would look like. And I think that's a really good element of the story, and I think that's one that's helped it age quite well, is that it has a very nice idea of what they thought the world would look like, and it's a great way to, in a way, study the previous generation and what they thought. But anyway, what happens is, without spoiling too much, they essentially realize that the Doctor looks like a dictator called Salamander, who is, well, evil, and they want to overthrow. And this is really where the base of the story sort of picks up. And to my astonishment, the story does pick up very fast, which is one of the compliments I have to give to this story. A lot of classic episodes sort of start very slowly. Usually episode 1 for me is very weak, and I can't really get in to episode 1 of many classic stories because I always feel very slow, that they haven't really started yet, and it really isn't until episode 2 that they pick up. Enemy of the World is one of the best examples of a story that picks up from the very start and just carries on going. To me, this story starts straight up, goes, and it's just amazing from the start to the end. Absolutely fantastic. They have a really great chase sequence, which you'll see at the very beginning, and it's just an excellent way to start your story. You have this mystery surrounding why they're after the Doctor, and you learn later on, of course, that it is because he looks like this dictator salamander. Now, the thing that makes this plot so creative is, of course, that as Patrick Troughton is playing both the villain and the Doctor, the whole story surrounds the Doctor looking like this character and trying to impersonate Salamander to overthrow him. This is such a great aspect to the story, as they do often use some points in the story, I won't name them, where they do sort of make you believe it's one character when it might in fact be the other. They sort of do at times make you feel unsure of, like the actual people themselves would be in the story, the actual characters. Sometimes you don't know if it's the Doctor or if it's Salamander, and they do very nicely sort of do twists where you believe it's Salamander but it's actually the Doctor, and so on and so forth. I won't name situations because I don't want to spoil anything for you. And that's one of the things that I really like about the story, and that it's very different to your typical Patrick Troughton story. And if you're a fan of the Patrick Troughton era, you're very familiar with the sort of base under siege type story that they seem to go for in the Patrick Troughton era. Whereas this story doesn't go for that sort of thing, it goes for a very open location. You have on location filming, you have beaches, you have, of course, your typical bases. You've got all those sorts of things. There's a wide wide amount. There's just an amazing amount of different sets they go to. It's not all in one area, which is one thing I really like about the story. That I feel that though it's my favorite era, sometimes the Patrick Troughton era does lack that. Usually there's only a very small amount of sets in a story, and it gets very repetitive because you know, for 6 parts or 4 parts, you're looking at the same environments. Whereas one thing I have to say about Enemy of the World is that it very nicely varies it up. So often it feels like you're going to different areas, and it very, very rarely feels like you're in the same area, unless of course you occasionally are. But for the most part, it's very different. You go to a wide range of environments, probably some of the most environments in a Patrick Troughton story. And that's one thing I have to say this story nails, is that its environment, it's very nice, it just absolutely brilliant in that regard. I absolutely love it. Now on to the characters in the story. Now, without going too much into them, the characters are really great in the story. Giles Kent is a really good character. They've got Astrid Peth, who of course is a very strong female character, probably one of the strongest female characters in the Patrick Troughton era in general. Because of course, back in the 60s, there were a lot of the time where female characters didn't really get a portrayal that really makes, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, we're talking a long time ago and times have changed, but sometimes the Patrick Troughton era really lacked, all 60s Doctor Who, lacked a strong female character. Astrid Peth is a really, really great female character in this story, and just one of the best characters in the Patrick Troughton era, in my opinion. She's sort of strong-willed, she's independent, she knows, she's got her beliefs, and she's a good character. She just is a really excellent character that I'm sure you'll like. She's very easy to get invested in, and just a really great really great character. And of course, you have other characters. I don't want to go into too many of them. You've sort of got your nice political intrigue going on, of course. Salamander's a dictator. You've sort of got that political intrigue. So if you're into that sort of story, it might be a good one for you. This story is very good because you'll find yourself seeing that there's a lot of characters weren't how you originally thought they were going to be. I won't name any names, but there are characters that you might believe are on one side, and then at the end, they're on the opposite side. And it's very good how they do that. I think that we're going into this story, you can't trust any character from the start, because I'm sure that a lot of characters will shock you like they did me. You'll find characters that are, you know, just much more complex than you initially thought, and that there's more to them that meets the eye. They're very well written, they're very diverse, they're just excellent characters that really just solidify this story and why I love it so much. These aren't weak characters. There really isn't a single weak character in this story. And of course, this story stars the Doctor, played by Patrick Troughton, Jamie, and Victoria. All three of them, I love these three companions. They're my favourite trio. They're my favourite Doctor companion group in the whole of the all time. Because I just think that they just work together so well. You can tell that there's some great chemistry between the three of them. I just absolutely love all three of their characters. They're all characters that are my favourite. The Doctor, obviously my favourite Doctor, the second Doctor. Absolutely love him. I think he nails every story he's in. Jamie and Victoria, both two companions, that really are near the top of my best companions list. Though, because they work very well together. Though Victoria is not exactly the strongest female character, what makes her a good companion is her affection for the Doctor and Jamie, and she cares a lot about them and their chemistry. And it's no different in this story. You can tell that though sometimes Jamie and Victoria, though they aren't always exactly certain of what they're doing, whether it's the right thing, or they're not always, especially Victoria, not exactly confident. They always just take a big leap for the Doctor, or for Jamie, or for Victoria. They all take a big leap for each other. They care a lot for each other, and there's some really, really great interaction between the three in this story. And there's a certain part which I won't name that I found really funny, and I don't even want to give a hint because it will ruin a part of the story for you. But I think all three of them work so well together, and I just think that they work great together, and I think that it's one of their best stories together. I think it's probably the best interaction between the three. Actually, no, I think Tomb of the Cybermen wins that. It's the second best story in terms of the interaction between the three, I think. I think they're all brilliant in the story, and I think it's one of their best performances together. So, now to sum up this whole review. I hope you all enjoyed it. This is my first time I'm doing a review, but I'm gonna give this story a solid 9 out of 10. It has to be, for me, a 9 out of 10. It's not quite good enough to hit that 10, but to me, it's a masterpiece, and it's a top 10 story for me. Absolutely incredible. Highly recommend you check it out. It's easily a 9 in my books. So, that's the review of The Enemy of the World. This was, of course, my first review. I've never done a review of a Doctor Who episode before. So, please tell me what you thought. If you didn't like it, if you wanted me to do it in a different way, just let me know. This is my first time. We'll sort of work out together how the best way to do this sort of thing is. Of course, I would like to perhaps one day do reviews with more than one person, have a discussion for review video. So if anyone wants to star in a video and maybe we can do a review together, then that's cool. I'm fine with that. So let me know, give me some feedback on what you thought of the review, how we can make it better, and we'll hopefully get this channel up and going and get the reviews to a high standard that you all love. I hope that this is enough for you, because I don't want to go too much into the story, because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. So anyone who was concerned about that, I'm sorry. I really tried very carefully not to spoil anything. So many reviews that I'm seeing just reveal lots of plot points that I wouldn't want spoiled. So I tried my best to try and be as reserved as possible. So let me know what you think, and I hope you all enjoyed the review, and I will see you all in a future video.